You're listening to Get to Know World of Warships, a podcast created by Boggzy and Synpax.
Oh, shucky ducky. Well, everybody, I'm back. I went to Florida for a week, and then I streamed a whole bunch of stuff, and I didn't record any podcasts for like 2 weeks. I'm sorry. I'd feel bad about it, but I don't have any feelings, so there. So, ha! Anyway, happy Halloween, everybody. I think it was yesterday, because today, I think, is the 1st. Probably means I need to pay rent. But anyway, so let's go over what's new. I'm a CC now. That's awesome. That means that I can give out codes as soon as I start getting them, which should be in a few days, on my stream for CC containers, for CC camos, what have you. That's awesome. I have a couple things for you today. I have a guest who responded to the take a historical ship and let's talk about how it could be implemented in the game. His name is Pacmanly. He'll be here in just a second. Then I'm going to be talking with Penetration Nation, Clan PN, and that's going to be great. As my old favorite late-night talk show hosts always say, we got a great show for you tonight. Meow, 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 meow. Next coming up is also WMI, Warship Masters Invitationals. Is going to be November 22nd. That's hosted by Gaishu and Friends. And that will be November 22nd. It's internationals this time, so the top 4 clan battle teams from Season 9, I believe, will be competing against the top 4 from the other 3 servers. I will be calling that, along with my co-caster, Oskons. If you guys want to watch that, please come check out one of our streams. I think we do a pretty good job of doing play-by-play commentary while still being able to see the entire map, so you guys can see what's going on. We did it for KOTS and KOTS Internationals. It was great fun. We got a lot of good feedback from it, so please consider coming to check us out for that. And let me see what else is coming up. I've gotten some requests to start creating YouTube videos for clans who are in Gale or Storm League clans. Who basically want to know proper clan battle strategy and etiquette. In the sense of they basically want to get up into Typhoon level. I don't think I could teach someone how to be a Hurricane level player. That just comes from skill and practice and experience. But I can certainly give people some information on how to choose ships, how to align strategies and whatnot in terms of clan battles. So I'm going to start doing that, mostly for the Gale and Storm League clans that are wanting to progress up a little bit because folks just said, hey, can you help? And so I figured might as well make videos out of it. So I'll probably be enlisting the help of some friends in making some videos. So keep your eyes out for that as well. With that being said, let's go ahead and I'll switch over to Pacmanly. Please, everybody, welcome my first guest. This is Pacmanly. Pacmanly has very kindly responded to the many times that Synpax and I asked you folks to send us your ideas for ships that are historical and are not in the game, that you think should be in the game. And Pacmanly responded, and his choice was the Alan M. Sumner Class. So, Pacmanly, hello, how are you?
Pretty good. Yourself?
I'm doing just great, man. Thank you for asking. So, why is it exactly that you want to see the Alan M. Sumner Class in the game?
So, one of the things that people like about this game is the naval history and stuff like that. And my dad actually served in the Navy. So when I got back into this game a couple of months ago, I gave him a call and I asked him what ships he served on. And one of the ships that he served on was the USS Compton. Mm-hmm. So I Googled it, found the Wikipedia page, and found that the USS Compton was an Alan M. Sumner class destroyer. So then I looked into what that was. It was the successor to the Fletcher class, and
the predecessor to the Gearing class, right?
Yes, the predecessor to the Gearing class. And in fact, their designs are almost identical. All they did to change it for the Gearing class was they extended the ship in the middle of it by 14 feet to give it more fuel storage for a longer operational range. But other than that, they're pretty much identical.
I see. So I looked into this, obviously, knowing that you were coming on, and it turns out that by the time the Alan M. Sumner class destroyers were starting to come into service in about 1943, 1944, the U.S. fleet sort of realized that the Japanese fleet was not really going to be that much of an engagement threat, and the bigger threat was Japanese airplanes. So at a certain point, they ended up taking out one of the 5-tube torpedo launchers, because just like the Gearing and the Fletcher had a pair of 5-tube torpedo launchers. So they ended up taking out one of them and replacing it with even more Daka, another like quad 40 millimeter Oerlikon, I think is what it was, to just increase the close and mid-range anti-aircraft defense systems, because they just went, well, we're not really seeing surface engagements. We're certainly not seeing battleships. So why have all these torpedoes? The better thing to do is just load it up with more AA. So I mean, was there? I'm just kind of curious, before we move on to where this ship fits in, would fit in into World of Warships. Was there anything specific beyond, the fact that, very cool, your dad was on one of these Sumner Class destroyers? Was there anything about it that you just sort of like got you excited?
Well, as a matter of fact, once I learned that the Gearing is just a longer L&M Sumner Class, I actually got to screen share the game with him and look over the details of the Gearing. Kidding. And yeah, and he had a lot of fun going over, like, by Vietnam we didn't have all those AA mounts or any of the torpedo tubes. We just had the 5-inch guns, and that lifeboat was the one that I was in charge of, and stuff like that. That was a lot of fun.
That's great. What a fun thing and you got to share that with your dad. That's such a neat thing to, to sort of, hey, I play this game and it's got this ship, and your dad to just sort of be able to be like, oh, yeah, I can actually, I can reference that a bit. That's really neat. Well, yeah. So the Sumner Class, obviously, traded out after its initial run. It ended up trading out some of its torpedo power for extra AA. Now, to me, just out of the gate, that reminds me of the USS Kidd. It reminds me of the Kidd, which is in game now, which is a Tier 8 American destroyer. I think it's basically a Tier 8 Fletcher, and they removed one of the torpedo tubes and essentially added more AA onto it. So if this were to be implemented into the game, obviously, if a Fletcher is at Tier 8 in the form of the Kidd and at Tier 9 in the form of the Fletcher, do you feel like this should be a Tier 9 or a Tier 10 sort of destroyer? I mean, what's your idea?
Yeah, so my thinking is that they could, if they wanted to go for the historical, the most historically significant one, they could go with the USS Laffey, which was apparently known as the ship that would not die.
Is that right?
It fought at both D-Day and in the Pacific. And when in the Pacific, it survived 4 bombs, 6 kamikaze crashes, and strafing fire that killed 32 and wounded 71.
Wow.
So if they were going to go that route, they could make it a Tier 10 U.S. destroyer. Maybe because it's shorter, maybe make it a little more maneuverable or something like that.
Sure, yeah.
But in fact, a lot of the L&M Sumner Class destroyers were sold to countries in South America. So that could, if they ever decided to add a South America destroyer line, it could maybe be the Tier 10 of that.
That's a really good idea, actually, and I can actually see them doing that. That's great.
Yeah. I mean, personally, it would be cool if they went with the Compton, which became the, I'm probably butchering the pronunciation, but the Mato Grosso,
okay,
which was sold to Brazil.
Oh, that's probably Portuguese then, and I always think of Portuguese as drunk Spanish. I can speak Spanish decently well, but like when I hear Portuguese, it sounds sort of like Spanish, but if someone were drunk and slurring their words, sorry to any Brazilians or Portuguese, anyone who speaks Portuguese out there, my apologies, but that's what it sounds like to me. I love that. I love your idea of if they were to finally put in sort of like the Pan-Asian or the Pan-European line that a ship like this would make, it's basically made up of imports. A ship like this would make a great Tier 9 or 10 in the sense that, it's historical, it's real, and it has some precedent for being, the ship that would not die, if it was the USS Laffey, for example, if that was a premium, or even just the, if that was the final one in the line, a destroyer, a short, relatively decent destroyer, sort of like a daring.
The Laffey itself actually wasn't sold to South America. It's actually the only remaining
I see. Sumner
Class. It's actually a museum ship in South Carolina.
Oh yes, that's right. I did see that it actually it's still alive. It's out there in Charleston, South Carolina at Patriots Point. If anybody happens to live in that area, the USS Laffey is actually there. So, well, that's great. This worked out so much better than I expected when Synpax and I were like, hey, let's bring someone on and just talk about a ship they wanted to see. I always wanted to see the HMS Repulse or the Renown, the two British battle cruisers that, they were World War I era battle cruisers that, essentially like a more lightly armored, skinnier, undergunned Queen Elizabeth class that was faster. I thought that would be really cool, but this is fantastic. USS Laffey and the Alan M. Sumner class, I could see, they could work for a Pan-American ship line in just the Sumner class if they had a couple, or even have a premium like the USS Laffey at 8 or 9. I think that would work really well in the being sort of like a kid, in the sense that these got extra AA at the cost of torpedoes. And you don't want to make a carbon copy of the kid, obviously, even though it's an awesome destroyer, but I can see a lot to work.
That's why I was thinking it would be better at tier 10, simply because it is identical to a gearing in most respects.
Yeah, very similar to a gearing. I'm sure they'd come up with something to make it a little bit different.
Yeah.
But, well, that's lovely. This was great. Thank you so much for coming, Pacmanly, and for actually taking the time to respond and to coordinate you coming on with me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, no problem.
Great.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Well, I'm going to go ahead and move on. I have, coming up here, I have PN. Clan PN is going to join me. So we're going to say thank you to Pacmanly for bringing the Alan M. Sumner class, and specifically the USS Laffey and Compton, to our attention. And anybody else, by the way, if you do want to see another real-life ship in the game and you think you've got a good candidate for it, please, at this point, you can send me a PM in Discord. The podcast email, I do still check it, but it's a little more irregularly. So you are welcome to leave a comment underneath on the YouTube version of the podcast. It's on my YouTube channel, which is Boggzy Time Gaming. You can drop it in the comments on this episode, and I'll get around to looking at it and see if I can't reach out to you and get it. So thank you again, Pacmanly. We'll move on to talk with PN, okay?
No problem. Have a nice one.
You too, buddy. Thank you very much to Pacmanly for joining me there. Now I have very special guests in the form of Clan PN. And the two gentlemen joining me are a Gaga, or 6A, 6A, 6A. Hereto forever known as Adam, I believe. Also known as Cheeky Turkey. He's a greedy turkey with all of his names. And it's a game thing as well. So, gentlemen, hello, and how are you?
Good. Thank you for having us today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, you are most welcome. So, I'm really excited to have you guys on because PN has, ever since I've been in TNG for coming up on a year now, PN has always been, I felt like, one of our chief rivals, in the sense that you guys are always high Typhoon Hurricane level clan. You guys are always facing us when we're making that push into Hurricane. You guys are always formidable opponents. And at the same time, you guys always seem to have a good sense of humor about yourselves, which we try to do as well. So I'm excited to have you here. And if I may start with 6A or Adam, can you guys just give me like a little quick overview of when PN formed, and sort of where you're at now in terms of competitiveness, and how you got there?
Sure. So this is quite a long story, actually. So back when clans were first made, I proposed the idea to make a clan to some friends. We made a clan called FML, and back in high school, I took a break, and during that time, the clan split in half, and we formed. So there's two clans now. There's FML and Oprah, and there's a bit of disconnect between like the leadership and the competitive team. So the competitive team went to the other clan, And then about a year after that, got a bit more into the game. We decided to merge back and form PN. And I wasn't actually the leader back then or anything. I was just EXO, and turns out I was the best guy for the job. Probably not. But yeah, we formed PN, and we decided to become much more focused on competitive.
And
yeah.
when did I mean, I don't know how many of these are actually affiliated with you, but I assume they are. So PN stands for Penetration Nation, obviously, but there are multiple I don't know what to call them, spill-off clans or sub-clans or extended clan. There's OPN, there's DPN, and there's XPN. Are they all affiliated with you guys?
Yes. Okay, so I'll correct you on that. OPN is not affiliated with us.
Okay.
We have 3 clans. We have XPN, which is our other competitive clan.
Mm-hmm.
DPN, which is our semi-competitive clan, and SPN, which is our retirement home. So the way it works is, well, the way we came across these clans.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the way we came across these clans was, we felt like we needed a way to, because when we merged, we had different levels of skill, as you do, but there was a huge difference between the bottom half and the top half. So we felt like making 2 clans to make everyone feel more satisfied was appropriate.
So with PN being our main competitive branch, we felt that there was a strong difference between the top half of the clan and the bottom half of the clan as far as the ability to compete and maintain a high level of competition. So we wanted to be able to have a different group that was still within our same community that was able to provide that same kind of feeling of competition. So they ended up finding a different clan that formed into OPN at the time. OPN's was a self-sufficient clan that they took a lot of average and good players and they taught them the competitive aspects of the game. And if they felt confident enough and they were performing well enough, they were able to move up into the main branch of PN.
Mm-hmm.
If they could obviously stay in OPN if they wanted to. And then we had DPN at the time, which, like Adam said, is our casual and just casual comp clan. And those players, they just get on to have a good time. More recently, they've kind of restructured and they're looking to become more of a competitive group. Then SPN is, like he said, our retirement home, and it stands for Social PN.
Sure, yeah.
Like he did touch on briefly, though, before, OPN is no longer affiliated with the Penetration Nation family at all.
But they were at some point, right?
Yes. Okay, we had a fallout prior to the Tier 6 clan battle season, and we ended up separating from them due to some external factors.
Okay.
And they were replaced with the clan called XPN. XPN's first season was the past season at Tier 6. So as a brand new clan, they fell on Typhoon. And the purpose of XPN is similar to what OPN was. We have good and above average players that go in there that maybe don't have the experience in the competitive nature of the game. They go in there to learn that and get the skill set that it takes to move into the more competitive side of things.
Sure.
And they can either move up into PN's main branch or they can stay there if they feel it's a better fit for them.
Yeah, that sounds almost exactly like what TNG has become. Obviously, folks sort of might remember that we had a little bit of a shakeup after at the end of the Tier 6 clan battle season. We lost some of our players, and then Synpax stepped away from the game himself, and we had to sort of reorganize ourselves. So we ended up making TNG the main competitive clan, and then TNG2 was sort of our rejuvenation clan, where we put the folks who maybe don't have that experience yet in competitive, but are still capable players. And right now, they're organizing themselves extraordinarily well into a competitive clan. In fact, they just broke into Typhoon themselves. So it sounds like XPN and TNG2 are essentially kind of doing the same thing, in the sense of these are skilled players who maybe just don't have the same number of seasons under their belt yet, but they're starting to lock down and figure out how to do it pretty well pretty quickly. Would you say that's about right?
Yes, I would.
Good. Hello, Adam. Welcome back.
The Discord crashed.
Oh man, he sounds so far away. Did a dingo eat your Ethernet cable?
Yes, definitely.
He's like, that's not funny, man. That actually happened to a lass back in the 90s. We don't joke about that in the Down Under, mate. Sorry, any excuse to do an impression. It's a sickness I have. So PN has been for a long time what I would consider to be TNG's main rival in the most important aspect of this game, which is clearly clan brawls. Clan brawls being the most competitive, the most prestigious aspect of this game. TNG, as you know, are multi-time world clan brawl champions. And I have a medal, actually, that hangs on my mirror in my bathroom. So when I'm putting my contacts in the morning, the first thing I see is TNG Clan Brawl Champions. But I have to say that the people that give us the biggest run for our money is always PN. Now, how exactly do you guys... What do you guys do when it comes along? Is just everyone down to run as many teams as possible? Or, I mean, I know what we do. We stack TNG with as many people. We fill up to 50, and then we make sure that everyone who's in TNG is going to be playing that night. So we field the most number of teams possible. What do you guys do?
Well, we actually adopted quite a lot of... I think we adopted a technique from TNG. So we do the transfer thing, so you take everyone out of OPN or XPN now. So and then as the night progresses, people who said they can't be there or don't show up, we remove them from the port, we add more people in, just get as many teams running. It doesn't matter how well they play, just get them going. I mean, effectively, we're just two clans running in one port.
Right. Because with clan brawls, it doesn't really matter how many losses you have. The only thing that matters is how many wins you get.
Yeah, 100%. It gets annoying facing 07 and not winning at all, but yeah, I don't think they're doing them anymore, which is disappointing, but I don't think we'll be transferring people if they do again, because it requires so much organization.
It really does.
This person will be available at this time, this person stops being available at this time, and you have to kick them. And instead of actually playing, you spend the most time just sorting through people. And I just want to enjoy the game.
Yeah. I always thought the best aspect of the clan brawl was mainly as like a fun community building exercise for the clan, where everyone comes together on one night to do one specific thing for, whatever it is, a couple hours or... and it sort of becomes this fun little, intra-competitive thing where, the teams playing are sort of competing to see who can get the best record and all that. It's just a fun thing to do to keep people engaged, but fun and engaging, name of the game, right?
Yeah.
So let's see. Let's touch briefly on a little bit about PN's competitive history before we take a break and I have you guys sink a ship, because we're coming right up to that point where we should do that. So you guys mentioned to me beforehand that PN hasn't really even been around as a competitive clan for that long, right? Did I misunderstand you?
Been around about a year and a half, I think, at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Not too long, especially compared to the top tier clans. Anyway. Yeah, I think so. We were looking at it recently, and I think 80% of our clan is like brand new within the last 6 months.
Wow, COVID clan.
I don't. Okay, this would sound bad. I don't want COVID to end, but
he said it. He said it. You guys, you can hold him to it. He doesn't want COVID to end.
I think David can add more to this than I can.
Yeah, so like Adam said, roughly 80% of our clan is 6 months or newer. I can say I am just outside of that 6 month cusp. I joined just at the beginning of this year. When I joined, PN was, we were a Typhoon team. We were a really competitive Typhoon team when we were consistently performing at that same level. It took 2 seasons since I've been here, and it was unfortunately the tier 6 season that doesn't really count for much was PN's first season breaking into Hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, it's kind of set that expectation now of, okay, we made it once. We made it during a season that a lot of people consider wasn't worth it because it was the season that, one, it wasn't the tier 10 season that we traditionally have, and two, it was during a season where a lot of these top tier clans, they had initially said that they were boycotting because of CVs, and then they kind of broke back into it in the second half of the season. So I think not only do we owe it to ourselves, but we're still kind of trying to show the community like we're a legitimate Hurricane clan.
Yeah.
And I think that just comes with being the newer kids on the block.
Well, when this let's talk a little bit more about that. Let's talk about how you guys are finding this clan battle season. I'd love to hear your input. But first, let's take a quick break so I can go to one of my clearly not satirical and obviously very, very serious advertisements. But before we do that, I'm going to ask you both to play Sink a Ship with me. So let's just imagine that for a moment, one of the ships in the game is its personal file that contains all of its information is up on the screen, and then a lightning bolt strikes whatever house that it's in. It completely wipes that ship out of the game and off the map. I'm going to ask each one of you to decide in your mind right now which ship that would be for you for any reason. I don't care. And we will find out what Penetration Nation wants to sink shortly after this when we come back on Get to Know World of Warships. And now, a word from our seasonal sponsors.
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine. Shrieking skulls will shock you so feel you're doomed tonight. Spooky, scary skeletons speak with such a screech. You'll shake and shudder in surprise when you hear the zombies shriek.
And we're back. I'm talking with... What the hell do I call you? Adam, Gaga, 6A, 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 Cheeky Turkey, whatever. Leader of PN, Penetration Nation, 6A. Adam, I think we're calling him today. And it's a game thing. I've asked these fine gentlemen to please sink a ship. We're going to start with you, Adam. What's it going to be?
It's got to be the FDR. For all the counterplay there is against carriers, this has even less counterplay.
you want to sink an aircraft carrier that's in a wheelchair. You are a heinous individual. You know that? Why is that? You said it doesn't have counterplay. What specifically? Why do you want to take this ship out of the game?
I mean, AA doesn't do anything against its planes unless there's no situation unless they fly into flak. But if they have any skill, they won't fly into the flak that often, at least. Those
are chunky planes, right?
Oh yeah, like 40,000 AA damage, and you get like one plane shot
Yeah, it's like the Incredible Hulk in a CV. Well, it's a game thing. What about you? What's it going to be?
I'm sticking with everybody's favorite class, and it's going to be the MVR for me.
Jesus, I'm noticing a pattern between you two. What do you guys got against flying shooty boats, huh?
Well, for me, it takes the fun out of clan battles. I mean, that's the primary reason that I play this game, and it's why I enjoy KOTS so much more than I do the traditional clan battle season.
Sure.
I have a hard time playing against a class that I can do absolutely nothing against, and it'll drop me for 26k with its wonderful AP bombers.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, so these are the two... this is a great segue into the fact that these are the two aircraft carriers that seem to be the most dominant here in Clan Battle Season 11. Now, we saw in Clan Battle Season 9, the last Tier 10 season that had CVs, we saw the Hakuryu was actually the most... Well, it was the most effective, generally speaking, ship out there. It could drop cruisers, mainly the Stalingrad, for... I think it was 25.5 was the number that got bandied around if you hit all three bombs Citadel. So that sort of dominated the meta. I noticed in High Hurricane in Season 9 that sometimes people would be running the Midway just to... Basically, the Midway was better at dealing with Venezias and still decent at dealing with Stalingrads. So those two were an option, but they seem to have been completely replaced in this season of Clan Battle, Season 11, by the Manfred von Richthofen or the Franklin Delano Roosevelt, both of which you two gentlemen decided to sink. So let's talk a little bit about Clan Battle Season 11. This is the season of the Petro, and the Petro and the MVR, basically. And I kind of want to know how you guys, where you're at, how you guys are finding it, what you're liking about it, if anything, what you're not liking about it, if anything. Give me just give me a short blurb on how you're feeling about it.
Well, Petro is a very interesting ship. I don't think Wargaming understands that the issue is not the concealment anymore. It's more the fact that it's 2 pixels tall. But yeah, it feels very ineffective, but it's also required this season for competitive. And it's not that enjoyable to play. I'd rather play Stalingrad so we can actually punish people, or literally anything else.
Okay, so that's an interesting distinction. For anyone who's listening who maybe doesn't quite know the finer differences between the Petro and the Stalingrad, they're both Tier 10 Russian supercruisers. They both have a very similar armor scheme, except that the Petropavlovsk sits really, really low in the water, which means that its citadel belt, which was one of the Stalingrad's greatest weaknesses, was if you get its side and you can punish it with AP, it goes down relatively quickly. The Petropavlovsk is so much harder to citadel from the side, and the thing that it essentially trades off for that is hit points, for one, but also its shells, its gunnery accuracy at long range is far less accurate at long range. The Stalingrad has basically like laser-guided missiles and can hit accurately and hard at 23.6 kilometers maximum, whereas the Petro really can't accurately shoot beyond 14, 15, 16 kilometers. So it just doesn't punish people quite the same way that Stalingrads do, but it also doesn't get punished the same way that Stalingrads do. So, I mean, Adam and Game Thing, do you guys mind just sort of, what do you feel like is, which ones did you prefer? I found the Stalingrads very oppressive, but what do you guys prefer? Do you think the Petro meta is better than the Stali meta?
I would enjoy the Petro meta if CVs weren't here, just because of the change of pace. I mean, Stalingrad was pretty stagnant. Everybody knew what you're going to do. It was pretty Russian curtain style. Everybody takes a line, you push it up and call it a day. I think Petro kind of adds a different, diverse aspect where it can provide a few different roles. And up until the recent concealment nerf, I mean, the radar is really effective in that aspect.
Yeah, that's interesting. What about you, Adam?
Well, yeah, I kind of agree with David, but as the person playing a Petro, it's just annoying. It feels like Tier 6 kind of, where you shoot things and you don't punish them because poor dispersion, and usually shooting at the Petro, so it's even worse, amplified. And then getting back to the CV thing, they nerfed the Hakuryu AP bombs, and they didn't nerf the MVR AP bombs at all, and it just feels I don't know, it feels questionable when
feels bad, man.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe that.
That's okay. It's okay.
Just doesn't feel fun and engaging.
It doesn't feel fun and engaging. Yeah. So I mean, the MVR, it seems like, was the counter to the Stalingrad. The Hakuryu did for sure, but it was pretty much limited to its AP dive bombs in that regard. The torpedoes were good as well, but the rockets were only semi-decent. The MVR can just absolutely obliterate battleships and heavy cruisers with its AP dive bombs, and it's got the AP rockets, which punish Moskvas and Stalingrads so hard, being that they can't really turn very well because they're big and fat and slow. So, yeah, I mean, that's another reason to not take it, but it's really difficult for the MVR to actually AP Citadel with rockets the Petro, because the Petro sits so low in the water, combined with a very low detection rate. The Petro feels a little, when you said it feels Tier 6-y, it reminds me a little bit of the Graf Spee in the sense that it's pretty tanky, it's pretty well armored, but it's really kind of inaccurate. So it just ends up being this like sort of like shotgun slugfest. And I don't know if I like that or not. I'm pretty sure I'm leaning towards not liking it. But stop me if I'm wrong. It sounds like that's what you guys are kind of getting at there.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, let's talk briefly about KOTS real quick because I'm sort of you mentioned KOTS and that you liked the style of that. So, how did you guys feel about the ship bans? I myself, for example, didn't know that the other servers, when I was casting for North America and then on to internationals, I didn't know the other servers didn't use ship bans. And I think it really showed in their comps at the end of the day. So, what do you guys think? Did you get to see any of the internationals? How did KOTS feel for you guys? And how did you feel about the ship bans? All those questions. Answer them all. Game thing, let's start with you.
Personally, I very much enjoyed having the ship bans. I thought it introduced a very interesting aspect of everyone having to kind of be on their feet and having to have that ability to adjust their comps. I know when we were playing a few select clans, we would make certain ship bans based on their players and based on our homework of knowing what they ran. I'm trying to think of an example. I know we had banned a Minotaur at one point, and that completely benched someone's player, and they couldn't play against us.
Who was that, I wonder?
Adam, was it Bonks?
I don't quite remember.
Oh, it might have been Jake from State Farm playing the Minotaur.
Yes,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was him.
You're that Jake? They banned an entire ship just because of you filthy degenerate.
It wasn't because of him. We banned that and the Haruga mode just because we had scrimmed against them earlier on, and we knew it was effective comp against what we like to do and how we played. So, and obviously in KOTS, it's win or go home for the most part. Yep. So we wanted to perform the best we could. And I think for any clan that's looking to get into KOTS, it's worth it to do your homework. It's worth it to know what you're going into up front, and it's worth it to know your opponent.
Yep. That's excellent. Did you guys, did you feel like the work that you put in paid off at all?
Yeah, 100% that paid off. It was... KOTS... The KOTS rules, I think, should be like standard for all the servers. That was a interesting choice. Watching the other servers, like EU server, used like something silly like 7 Petros once.
Yes.
And yeah, I think we did have a little bit of how do I describe this? Drama during KOTS?
Fiasco?
Yes, I recall, because I think I got involved in that, didn't I?
You were the second time it happened.
Yeah. Well, why don't you describe, do me a favor and don't name anybody, but just give me my audience a little idea of what happened.
So, a brief rundown of it. We had our entire comp was completely set. We had everybody ready up in a battle. Our clan was not in control of the room the first time it occurred. The opposing clan was. They had moved someone onto our roster, and they were able to see our entire complete ship lineup. Now, this wouldn't be a big deal in the big picture, but it was a best-of-3 match. It was the third match, so it was literally win or go home for us at that point because it was still in pool play. And like I said, they got to see our entire comp, so they know what we were running before going to the battle. Yes, I get that they don't know how we're going to play it, but that's still a pretty big advantage of knowing what ships you're going up to beforehand.
Had they finalized their ship lineup before they saw you, or did they get to choose ships after they saw your comp?
I think there was a discrepancy. They said that they had readied everything up and not changed everything, and I don't know if they did or not. I think as a group, we don't really know. It was a big gray area there.
I see. And then that happened twice, basically, where the opponents got to see your lineup before the game started, and you brought it to the attention of the KOTS staff, of the KOTS volunteers, and I feel like you guys got a little bit of pushback, which is why I also jumped in and was sort of like, hey, look, I feel like these guys are just saying they're not asking you to change anything now because it's sort of water under the bridge. It happened. You're not asking for a mulligan or anything. You're not asking for disqualifications. You're just saying, hey, can we please make sure that there's something set up so this doesn't happen again in the future? Am I right or am I wrong?
100%, yeah. And I feel like a lot of people jumped in. I know you were in that discussion, and they thought they were asking for a free win, and that was 100% not the case.
No, you weren't.
We just wanted a fair shake. We want it to be a fun game for everybody, and if there can be a rule that can kind of fix something or at least address that, especially when it's a common issue, and it happens more than once, it's going to be an issue down the line.
Yeah, I mean, like you guys said, KOTS is sort of like, it's sort of the grand prize. It's the pinnacle of competitiveness for North America, at least. And it's really nice because there's no carriers involved in it, so it's a nice relief from clan battles where there are consistently now carriers. I think people put a lot of stock into that, and it's important to keep it as clean as possible and have as few, at least in my opinion, have as few instances where people might question the integrity of whether it's fair or not. And certainly allowing the opposing team to see your lineup twice before you actually enter the game, like, it makes you feel like, it just makes you question whether or not it's fair. So I don't blame you guys for being upset. I do think it's great that you guys sort of took the high road and said, look, we're not asking for a free win. We're not asking for disqualifications. We're just asking you don't let it happen in the future, or at least that you have a solution for when it does happen. Here's what happens. You have a contingency for it, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, okay. Well, so there's one more thing I want to ask you guys about before we go to Poach Synpax, and that is that I noticed you guys have a special channel at the very top of your Discord that is specifically for mental health. I think that's great because I sort of have this notion that just about everybody who plays video games a lot generally has some sort of social issues, which is why we remove the face-to-face component from our sort of social interactions. So I always jump at it when I see folks that, they sort of take a risk in the internet world of being serious about something for a second, because we all know the internet's a pretty irreverent place. So what made you guys want to throw up a channel specifically dedicated to mental health?
So I guess I'll talk again. So the mental health channel, my short time here in PN, I had more than one person from our community kind of reach out to me, and we kind of got more on a personal level, and they kind of expressed to me that they're having some hard times at home and a lot of things weren't going their way. So kind of in discussions with them, and then right around the same time frame where I'd gotten a serious message from someone about they didn't know if things were really worth it or not for them anymore. A pretty well-known streamer on Twitch had committed suicide, and they were no longer with us.
Are you talking about Wreckful?
I am, yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
So I had kind of talked to a few guys about whether or not they thought it was a good idea to kind of put some resources in place just for those people in our community that feel like they didn't have people to talk to, or they weren't comfortable necessarily talking to anyone about anything. And that's when I took that step and talked to everybody, and then I put that channel in place. In real life, I'm a social worker. I'll put that out there.
Sure.
So I just genuinely enjoy helping people and kind of making sure that they're getting everything that they need to succeed in life. And I wanted to give the people in our community that don't necessarily know where to go to get those resources or are afraid to do it, just a quick, easy place to access things where if they need help, they can get it. Or if they feel like they need someone to talk to, like, hey, I've made that first step. I've opened that door. My DMs are open. They can come and talk to me if they need someone to talk to.
Yeah. As someone who's struggled with depression myself, I can say that one of the most difficult things for someone who's not feeling good in general, or is sort of feeling, I like to say it basically, they start feeling like there's no hope. Hopeless is the distinct feeling that I feel like most people are experiencing when they're depressed. It's just sort of this, there's no hope left for a better outcome or for a positive change in their future. So one of the most difficult things is actually recognizing that and then saying, oh, I need to ask for help, because I feel like oftentimes they're just going to think to themselves, well, I'm just going to be a burden on somebody, and that's the last thing I want, is to be a burden. So I think it's wonderful that you have taken the initiative in PN, and you specifically, Game Thing, to set up a channel and then sort of open up and say, hey guys, this is what I do. I'm here to help if you need it, and there's no shame in coming forth and mentioning that, you're not in a good place. So I wholeheartedly commend you. It reminds me of, I think maybe the third or fourth podcast we did, which feels like an eternity ago now, where we had the community contributor Navy CB Pete from Clan NAM, the North American Militia. He's a veteran, and he also does the same thing where he helps anyone who is willing and wanting to talk. So to both of you, I say thank you very much. It's a good thing that you do. So if we can just wrap this up, guys, I'm going to have Adam go ahead and poach Synpax. Adam, Synpax left the clan a while ago, and he left the game in general. But if he were to come back, do me a favor and let Synpax know why Penetration Nation would be a good clan for him to join.
Well, clearly, first thing I'm going to mention is that we are the future Clan Brawl champions.
I'm sorry.
And, I mean, that's all I really need to say. Synpax is going to hop over immediately.
I mean, what else matters, really, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the pinnacle of competitive. I think we're a very strong competitive clan. If Synpax is still into that type of stuff, I'm sure I could get some help with some admin stuff. I'm sure Synpax is great at that stuff.
He's a very good administrator, no question.
I think we're a good contender for top 10 on NA now, in clan battles at least, and maybe top 16 in KOTS.
Excellent. Well, so yeah, I mean, if I can just lend my own voice to your pitch there, PN has been a consistently solid clan that improves every season, in my perspective. Whenever we run up against you guys, we know that we absolutely cannot afford to not play at our 100%. So I would just recommend that anybody who's looking for a high typhoon hurricane level clan that's just breaking into, consistently hurricane level play, PN is an excellent place to start, or even end up at, because I feel like we're going to see you guys purple this season and probably in future seasons to come. Yeah.
I should also mention, we do have a community that welcomes players of a variety of skill. So many people are welcome to join our Discord. It's open to public as well.
Yep, I'll include a link to the Discord in the description below, as always. Go check them out. Check out their mental health channel as well, if that's something that you feel like could be useful to you. Say hi to them in game if you see them. And other than that, gentlemen, I think that about does it for me. It's been an absolute pleasure having you both. 6A, Cheeky Turkey, Adam, it's a game thing.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you both for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you for having us.
You're welcome. As always, the description in the below will contain a link to the PN Penetration Nation Discord. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. Also, another community contributor is a part of Penetration Nation. You probably know him. His name is In General. I'll include... we were thinking about trying to grab him, but his schedule didn't quite line up, so I'll include a link to his Twitch stream as well. Go check him out. He's a very nice guy, fellow Los Angelino like myself. So, otherwise, let's see. I'm trying to think of what are the other things that I threw out there at the beginning of this episode that I'm forgetting already. Yes, don't forget that the Warships Masters Invitational Tournament will be coming up on November 22nd. I will be one of the primary casters for that. I'm very grateful to Gaishu for asking me and Oskans, my partner, to cast that. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be the 4 best teams from clan battles in North America versus the same on the other regions. It's another international thing. Should be lots of fun. So be sure to check that out. And thank you once again to PN. We'll see you guys all next time.
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine. Shrieking skulls will shock you so feel you're doomed tonight. Spooky, scary skeletons speak with such a screech. You'll shake and shudder in surprise.